Everybody all set? I've given considerable thought in recent weeks and months to the future, both the future of this great city and my own personal future. In this election year, I faced a decision on whether to seek another term. I've devoted the past 20 years serving the city of Detroit as its mayor. These years have brought revolutionary change to the city of Detroit. We have changed city government. For the first time in its history, it is a government which is open to and inclusive of all of our citizens. We have changed the climate for minority business and professional people. The year before I became mayor, the city issued fewer than $20,000 worth of contracts to minority-owned businesses. Immediately after 1974, we went to work on that problem, and by 1988, we were issuing more than $125 million annually in contracts to minority-owned businesses, and have continued that average since then. We were declared by Black Enterprises in 1981 to have issued more in actual dollar amounts and in percentages contracts to black business than any other city in this country, in spite of the fact that we are far from the largest city. We have changed our police department. Today it is the department that serves the community that is a part of and which it serves. We have changed our riverfront, where once it was crowded and abandoned foundries and warehouses. Today it features public parks, plazas, new houses, new offices, new restaurants, and a new arena, an expanded convention center. It has become a cornerstone for the rebuilding of the city of Detroit. We've changed our neighborhoods. On the east side, a new town in town is developing around the new Chrysler plant. It features the new subdivision of Victoria Park, the new and renovated housing developed by PIFU, People in Faith United, new senior housing, new low and moderate income housing, and a new shopping center. On the west side, we rebuilt the area in Virginia Park that was decimated by the 1967 rebellion. We have changed industrial policy. Today, Detroit is the only urban center in America with not one, but two state-of-the-art automobile plants. Both are operating at full capacity, proving Detroiters can still build cars with the best of them. This morning's heralding the resumption of a second shift at Pole Town underscore the rightness of what we have done. For all this change and progress, we still face enormous problems and challenges in Detroit. Our unemployment is too high. Our crime rate is too high. And our city budget has been cut to the bone. Despite those problems, I am fully convinced that the greatest days of the city of Detroit are ahead of us. With the support of the citizens of Detroit and the cooperation of many elements within and without the city, we've been able to hold this city together and to move it forward. There are a great number of programs still in the hopper that I would like to see through to completion. I believe the future greatness of Detroit depends on these and other programs yet to be set forth. Among them are the further stimulation of trade, commerce, and jobs through the development of transportation facilities. These facilities include expansion of the Port of Detroit, a new railroad tunnel beneath the Detroit River, a new multimodal transportation center along the river, a new high-speed rail line between Chicago and Detroit, extending on through Windsor to Toronto and Montreal, a new Amtrak depot in the new center area, an elevated train system running along Woodward from downtown through the new center and into the suburbs, an expanded city airport. Other programs I see as important for Detroit include a new Tiger Stadium, development of a new shopping center downtown, perhaps in conjunction with the new Tiger Stadium, continued expansion of a new town in town centered around the Chrysler Jefferson plant, with similar developments on the west side in such areas as Virginia Park and in the neighborhood of the Hartford Avenue Memorial Church. The opening up of our incinerator to full operation, which is now one of the most efficient in the United States, to full capacity. This will allow us to bring in garbage from outside Detroit to further remove the strain on landfills and reduce the cost of disposing of solid waste. However, I have decided 20 years is enough. I shall not seek another term as mayor of Detroit. I've had many people tell me they would help me campaign should I decide to run. But I don't campaign like that. I campaign all out. I've not been able to put out the effort in the last year in the manner that I've been able to in the previous 19 years. Should I win another term, I do not think I could put out as much into the job as I believe it demands. It should be a disservice to my own standards to be able to deliver anything less than 100%. My decision does not mean that I'm going to leave town. I still believe in Detroit. I still believe our best days lie ahead, and I still plan to be an active participant in the affairs of this city. My decision does not mean that I'm retiring. I look forward to a new chapter in my career in public service. That chapter may include teaching. It may include writing. It will continue to deal with the problem that besets Detroit and all urban America. I am deeply grateful to the people of Detroit for the faith and confidence they've shown in me in 5 consecutive elections. I've been proud to be their mayor every day for the past 19 and 1/2 years. I intend to be a full mayor for the next 1/2 year. But I've concluded that my future service to them can better be delivered in a role other than that of mayor.
Mayor Young, if your health was better, would you be a candidate for re-election?
I couldn't tell you that. That's speculation.
Mayor, are you going to endorse one of the announce candidates at this point?
I'll have to review after the smoke clears.
Mayor, at what point did you decide that you didn't want to run again?
Last night,
What made you come to that decision?
I just, to the best of my ability, I just got to explain it. Now, if that doesn't do it, I'm sorry.
Mayor, do you think you're going to miss it?
Maybe I shouldn't try to be a writer after all.
You've been in office so long, Mayor, you're obviously going to miss it. Do you step down or away from the mayor's office with some regret?
No, I have no regret. I certainly had an interesting time, and I will always look back with a warm feeling to what the experience I had during the 20 years that I was mayor. But there will be no regrets.
What quality should the next mayor of the city of Detroit possess?
I think love for the city and a thick skin.
So what's your proudest moment out of those 20 years?
There have been so many. I think that perhaps my proudest moment was when the citizens of Detroit rose to the challenge of a budget deficit 8 years ago, I believe it was, when we had to ask the citizens of Detroit, this city, to vote a 2% increase in the income tax on themselves in order to balance our budget. And they did that in the face of a tax rebellion across the nation and across the state. I think that said more than anything else something about the quality and the courage and the determination of the people of this city.
Mayor, do you know if Charlie Williams has thrown his hat into the ring, and give us a little bit about what you think about him? He's been your right-hand man for years.
Repeat that question.
Do you know yet whether Charlie Williams is going to run, and what's your reaction to that if he is?
Well, either he's going to or he's not going to. It's past the deadline. Do you know whether he's filed or not? Well, I submit you ought to get your facts together before you start asking me.
Mr. Mayor, could you describe how the appointee meeting went? Was it very emotional?
What's that?
Was the appointee meeting very emotional? Has this been very difficult for you?
No, it wasn't emotional. It was a warm meeting, but it wasn't difficult. Everybody there is adult.
We get emotional.
You do? About the Detroit news? You choke up? Yeah.
Be remembered.
What's that?
For all of your years here and all the years of service, all the people that have known you,
Yes.
that have worked with you, how would you like everyone to remember all of your years and everything that you've done for the city?
Well, I like to remember me as a good mayor who gave all he had in an effort to improve this city.
You gonna miss it?
Certainly I'll miss it.
Mayor Young, how are you going to make the transition from the job that you've held and loved for 20 years to a private citizen? It's been pointed out many times there are a few perks that go with your job. And you're going to miss them? The Nugent Mansion, just to name one?
Well, I had a place to live before Manugia Mansion. I had automobiles. I have not been without perks, as you put them. And I don't think I'll run out of perks. I didn't live by perks.
Are you looking forward to getting some of your private life back?
That's one of the bonuses.
Do you know, sir, where you will live in the city? What area?
If I knew, I wouldn't be publishing it.
Are you gonna miss the media?
And one of the perks of not being in office, I'll be able to tell you people where to go.
Did that? Maybe you'll tell us where to come.
Yeah, maybe I can. Maybe I can invite you over to my house and have a
You were speaking
under
about,
different circumstances. What's
you were
that?
speaking about the possibility of teaching and writing. Could you amplify a little bit?
No, I could not. Here again, I just reached a decision that I'm not going to run. I still have 6 more months as mayor, and I certainly haven't any job applications anywhere, nor do I have any final plans. These are just some vague notions that I have of what I might do.
Mayor, what do you think of the current people who've said they're going to run, people like Dennis Archer, Sharon
I would like to, as I said, wait till the smoke clears, see who the candidates are, make an evaluation. And even at that time, I may not have anything to say, and I might. I may support someone, and I may not.
Sir, what about in the last 6 months that you're looking forward to as part of your 20 years? What would you like to get accomplished there? Do you need to forge any particular bonds?
Well, some of the unfinished business that I listed in this press statement, I'd like to proceed and try and finish, or at least go further toward completion. There's a whole shopping list here that I'll be working on.
What about Tiger Stadium? Do you think
That's
we'll
one of
see that?
that's one of them. Well, I don't think we'll see it in 6 months, but we could see the finalization of plans and an agreement. I would hope to be able to accomplish that.
What's that going to take?
What's that?
What's that going to take to see a finalization of the plans for the stadium?
We'll take some type of agreement among all parties involved, an agreement on a price and a level of participation by each of the participants.
What about casino gambling? You'd said earlier today on the radio that you expected them to be coming to Detroit soon. Do you hope to bring that?
I don't think I said that on radio. But anyhow, I would hope that casino gaming would come, and that is the most likely candidate at this juncture would be the Indian-sponsored variety. And that could very well happen. That's up to Governor Engler at this juncture.
Mayor Young, you know that a lot of people are probably going to be glad to see you go too. Do you have anything to say to them?
Well, then they got their wish. Ho, ho, ho.
So what's been your saddest moment in the 20 years? Personal or professional?
I couldn't tell you. I haven't had too many sad moments.
Major disappointments for the city? Chief Hart, perhaps?
That was raised earlier. That was one. I think that among my major disappointments has been the incessant hounding by the federal government in full alliance and compliance with the press, the media. I think that Chief Hart was a victim of this hounding by the feds with the compliance of the press. And there had been previous indication of that. The Frank Blunt affair was another example of that. But there have been many, I think that the Vista investigation, there were charges made that during that investigation, the FBI spent more money in telephone taps and other investigations than they spent in any other investigation other than an investigation of a Teamster racketeering in Chicago. But there have been many instances of entrapment. In fact, that seems to be the chief tool being used by the federal government now, entrapment.
Mayor Young, you said last night that your administration, or the city of Detroit rather, has been in virtual crisis for your entire 5 terms in office. When do you think that crisis will be over? At what point will Detroit...
I couldn't tell you that. The crisis that Detroit has been in has been a national crisis. When I took office back in 1974, there was an Arab oil embargo that plunged the nation into a national crisis. And we've been in and out of that crisis ever since. So I don't speak of Detroit as an isolated instance. Detroit, since it's an automobile town, an industrial town, it hit harder than almost any other city. But we are part of a national crisis. So if you give me the answer to when we solve our national economic problems, then I can give you an answer to when we might solve our Detroit problems.
Mr. Mayor, you're the first and only black mayor that the city of Detroit has had. Your thoughts about how black people have fared under the 20 years that you've been mayor and the historical significance?
Well, I think that there can be no question that since I've been mayor, there's been a much greater inclusion of black people in the business and in the activities of this city. In spite of some frantic denials to the contrary, I don't think there can be much question about that. The record shows that that's true. It's been an inclusionary administration. And we've actually changed the face of the city of Detroit. Anyone who's been around any length of time And remember, when you come into City Hall, and you wouldn't see too many black people down here in terms of employees. And the same would be true of the police department. There were hardly any women employed by city government and the police department. All that's changed.
You have been criticized time and again for not forging bonds with the suburbs. Do you think that is something?
I think that's a bum rap. I think that's a bum rap. Yes, I know it is. As I've said time and time again, and nobody refutes it, it was I who took the initiative to set up the Big Four. You're familiar with what the Big Four is. That wasn't set up by anyone from the suburbs. It was set up by the mayor of the city of Detroit. That was an attempt to get cooperation between Wayne County, Oakland County, Macomb County, and the city of Detroit. I established the Tri-County Conference of Mayors. Some 45 mayors attempting to get cooperation among these mayors. I have constantly been reaching out to establish this type of unity. It is I who've insisted that my staff be 50-50, white and black. When as a mayor of a city that's 75, 80% black, I could have had an 80% black staff. You show me a suburban mayor who's taking the same steps. As I read the paper every day, they're being sued for discrimination. I've never been sued, so why don't you ask some of these damn suburban mayors that question? I've never heard the press asking any suburban mayor any question about how much discrimination goes on in their area. Why don't you ask some of them?
How big is racial prejudice in the suburbs?
I should ask you. You are the reporters.
To what extent does that remain an obstacle for the city?
Again, you should ask that question to them. I think it's a big obstacle. When black people can't rent. You talk about integrate. How the hell they going to integrate when they move into a suburb and somebody burns a cross on the lawn? Or somebody draws a shotgun on a little boy.
Sir, you were one of the leaders of the black labor movement. Has enough been done on that front as well?
I don't know what you mean by enough being done.
Are they still fighting for the minorities, or are they fighting for the average worker? Would you like to see, we don't hear much about the black labor movement anymore.
Well, there's been great progress made in the labor movement, but I don't think that the fight for equal rights and in general and rights of minority workers in specific goes on with the same intensity today as it used to and that it should.
Mayor, do you think the federal government will back off a little bit once you were out of the Manoogian mansion? You have often said that you had felt that they were trying to get something on you, or...
I cannot answer you for what the probable conduct of the federal government will be. You ought to ask the federal attorney general or the FBI. Here again, these questions are misdirected. I'm the victim.
So you don't have any answer as to why you think you'll continue to be victimized, or you won't?
No, I don't have any. As I say, you ought to go to the federal building and ask some of these questions.
Mr. Mayor, do you have any thoughts about how you will be remembered in the history of Detroit, and any preference as to what the history books will say about you?
Well, history means his story. And if I don't write it, or somebody, as a friend of mine doesn't write it, I'm in bad shape.
What are you going to miss the most?
The what?
What are you going to miss the most?
I'd have to think on that. I really don't know.
Mr. Mayor, several of your colleagues at the U.S. Conference of Mayors have expressed disappointment so far with the Clinton administration's treatment of the cities. What's your assessment of that at this point?
I join in that feeling. I'm disappointed.
Could you be more specific? What should the president have been doing that he's not been doing so far?
Well, I think he should afford more for the economic package, for the economic program that was part of the package that was rejected by the filibuster in the Senate. I think he gave up too easily.
Now, which project of yours would you like your successor to continue
Well, I just gave a list of them.
Right, but which one is your number one choice?
Well, all of them. You got the list.
Mr. Mayor, is there anything you can do to, well, let me put it like this, if you put your support behind a candidate, is there any way you can maybe protect the jobs of some of your appointees? They've been with you a long time, they've been loyal.
Well, it's not about protecting jobs, it's about protecting programs I think that would be good for the city. And I would like to attempt to have some effect on the issues around which this next campaign will be fought. So far, the editorial pages in the newspapers are setting the issues. And I don't think that's in the best interest of the city of Detroit. With all due respect, if the issues are those that are set forth by your editorial board, it'll set this city back 100 years.
What are some of the issues that you think that the campaign ought to resolve?
Well, I just listed them in this press conference.
Mayor, you're still a powerful political force and will be for years. Do you think throwing your support behind a candidate could make a difference in the race?
I think it could. I think it could.
So you'd think about that a long time before you do that, obviously?
Well, I would, as I said, I'm interested in presenting issues. And to the degree that I can see a candidate that will embrace some of the issues that I presented to you that I think are in the interest of the city of Detroit, to that degree will I consider throwing whatever support I can muster behind that candidate.
It seemed like you were embracing Mr. Williams last night.
I was embracing Mr. Williams last night.
Did you encourage him or try to encourage him to file today?
No more than whatever I said last night was an encouragement. And here again, this is on the basis of issues.
What qualities does he possess that you think would make him a good mayor if he did decide to run?
Well, it's too late now. Either he did or he didn't. And so that question really doesn't have any bearing at this moment.
Did he give any indication why he did not want to run for mayor?
Well, now that's a question you ought to address to him. I'm not the person to interpret why he did or why he didn't do anything.
Is he here today?
You'll have to find that out. I'm not the information director out here either.
What advice would you give to whomever is the next mayor? What advice would you give to whomever it would be?
Well, I don't know if I would give the next mayor any advice if it were not solicited. I just don't have any advice to give a new mayor. I don't know who he is. I don't know what under what circumstances he or she is or would be. I don't know under what circumstances it would be elected.
Would you like to see anybody do anything differently?
All this is so nebulous. It's hard for me to grab a hold to it. You know, I think this has been a nice press conference, but we're actually getting down to low gravy.
Are you relieved today, sir?
What's that?
Are you relieved now that the announcement is made? Are you saddened? How would you characterize your emotions today? Because they'll certainly ask us to try.
I don't think I have any particular emotions. I'm tired. But it has no reflection on anybody here.
Mayor, you assessed the Clinton administration's policy toward the cities. Would you do the same thing toward the Engler administration? What do you hope to accomplish with Governor Ringer the remainder of this year?
Well, there are a number of things that we could accomplish with the England administration. I would hope that he would do something about casinos for the city. But the one issue that I've been talking to the governor about more than anything else, over which he has some control, is dealing with the problem of the pollution and the toxic infestation of the riverfront, the industrial toxic infestation. As you know, all of the land, or most of the land along the riverfront, we're like, for instance, Union Royal. We can't build there because of the toxic waste that's there. It would cost millions of dollars per acre almost to clean up any part of that riverfront. And more of the rest of the state development is being brought to a halt by what I consider to be unreasonable demands of DNR. And I think that between the state, the city, and the federal government, we need to come up with some money to clean up this property